All right, in this video, we are going to use SceneBuilder to lay out the following scene. All right, so I'm going to start with a blank or an empty scene. And then for my root component, I am going to drag an anchor pane in here. This is the first example where I've used an anchor pane, but I'll show you why I like to use that. One of the things I always forget to do is to make a controller class. I'll just call it my controller. So I'll do that first. Okay, then going back into our anchor pane, you can see that the scene is split between sort of this left half and the right half. So what I want to do is to do that is use a split pane, and I want to use the horizontal variety. The split pane is a container, and you can see it has the little divider in the middle. When I drag it into the anchor pane, you can see that what we get is a split pane inside here and then two anchor panes inside here, one on the left and one on the right. And you can see that the split pane is not, it doesn't take up the entire root component. So if you wanted to do that, then what you could do is right click and then do fit to parent. And then you can kind of drag this divider bar where you want to. All right, and so then I'm going to add a label here. And the label is supposed to say open me. All right, and then one of the things I want to do with the label is align that in the center. But you can see what happens is when I'd like that label to stay in the center, the dead center, when I resize this. And you can see it's definitely not doing that. So one of the advantages of an anchor pane is that if I click on the label and then go to layout, the anchor pane will allow me to anchor that location right to the node. It'll anchor it to the sides of the anchor pane. And how you do that is you just click on these little red links in here. Right, so here I can anchor to the top or the right or the left or some combination of those. Here I want it dead in the center, and so I turn on all of those links. And so now when I preview it and change this around, you can see that the label kind of stays in the middle. So that center alignment along with this anchor pane allows this to stay in the middle. And you can see I don't really have to worry too much about where this is supposed to be located exactly, like I do with Pane, right? It automatically resizes and relocates that. So that's super nice if you want some kind of effect like that. Okay, so we have this over here. Next, I'm going to start working over here on the right-hand side, and so I'm going to have a text field, and then have a grid pane with these buttons in the grid pane. The thing is they also need to kind of be stacked into the right-hand side in the right way, and I really want this text field to always stay on top of these buttons. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is take another container, in this case a VBox, and I am going to drag that into the right side of the anchor pane. Now remember, the VBox will lay out its child nodes in a vertical fashion. So then I'll put the text field on top and then a grid pane with a bunch of buttons on the bottom, and it will stay that way. All right, and let's see, you can see the VBox is small, so we should be able to right click and do fit to parent, and that will make it grow to the size of this pane over here. Okay, so then next up is inside the VBox, I want a text field, so I would go under controls and put the text field in the top. Okay, you can see it goes into the top. And then below, I want the buttons down there. And the buttons I want in a grid pane. All right, so there is the grid pane, and looking at the buttons, I want them laid out in a let's see, 1, 2, 3 columns and 4 rows. So I'm gonna have to add some columns in here. And so you would right click and then grid pane and then add a column and then add a row. Okay. All right, you can see the grid pane disappeared. It can be a little bit hard to locate some of those things, but remember you can always go to this hierarchy pane right here. All right, so I can make the grid pane a little bit bigger. And then what I want to start doing is adding buttons into the grid pane. So go to controls and then find a button. I'm going to drag that button right in here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set some of the properties of the button. I need to click on button. And first off, I need to change the text. I need to set that to 1. Okay, and then one thing about the button, you can see it's really tiny. If I preview this, it doesn't look great. When we did this by hand, we had to set row and column constraints on this. And so what we would do is, if we want it, we don't want this tiny button over here under max width and max height, we can set that to max value. You can see that made the button get a little bit bigger. And then here also for the max height, we set to max value on there. And that's going to cause that button to grow as big as it can there. All right. And let's see, we might be able to, down here, duplicate that. Let's see. Let's see, I think there's a way where we can change what cell in the grid pane it is, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Oh, it's right here, row index, column index. So we would do 1, 1. All right, and we can keep doing that. So we need 12 buttons altogether. All right, and we are going to have to change these. So we did 0, 1, so let's do 1, 0. Two, 0. then maybe we can just drag them out of there. That would be super nice. Yeah. All right, so that looks good. All right, and then now change the text on all of these. So that's going to be 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one is start. This one is 0. And this one is stop. All right, in here, I can't remember what we need. Shows time cooking. And I believe we want that center, like so. All right, let's take a look at that in the preview and see what we get. All right, you can see that the buttons are not growing, right? When I increase the height of this, so you can see the buttons aren't going all the way down to the bottom, and maybe you want that, right? So that is with the grid pane. The grid pane is not growing. So again, one of the things that we could do is change that. Let's see, under layout, and hit V grow always, and then let's see if that will. There we go. So now the buttons resize with the when you resize the window. Okay. So some things that we did not do that we probably would want to do if we were writing an application like this. On this exercise, to me it's just mainly about practicing laying these things out by hand before, and this time by SceneBuilder. But remember some important things. If we were actually writing an application for this, then make sure that we would set our controller, right? And then probably for each of these buttons, we would go into the inspector panel down to the code sub panel, and then give it an FX ID 1 button, right? And then a handler for that handle 1 button, like so. Okay, so we would probably do that for, give every button an FX ID, right? And then depending on how you wanted to set it up, you might do different event handlers for these different buttons. You might handle a few buttons with the same method as well. Okay. All right. And so that's about it on this one for getting this set up. And again, make sure you save this, right, as something. And then also the other thing that we will do eventually, right, when we start writing applications that take advantage of this FXML files generated by SceneBuilder, then we will also want to copy out our controller class into a new class in JGrasp. All right, that is it for this one.